5 minutes ago. What really happened when tension exploded in the dark, with Dara and Jung Il-woo locked in a fierce argument under the night sky? Let's uncover the full story together, right now, with red carpet revealed. Just 5 minutes ago, what was supposed to be an ordinary night of filming turned into an unforgettable scene, but not one that was scripted. Under the dim lights of the set and a sky heavy with stars, tension finally boiled over between Dara and Jung Il-woo, erupting into a heated argument that left everyone stunned and silent. For weeks, whispers of discord between the two had been circulating quietly. To the public eye, Dara and Jung Il-woo were the perfect pair, charismatic, professional, and beloved both individually and as a duo. Behind the curtains, something had shifted, and tonight, it all came crashing down. It began subtly. The crew had been shooting late into the night, trying to finish a critical outdoor scene before the weather turned. The atmosphere was heavy, a thick mix of exhaustion and expectation. Dara stood under a faint spotlight, dressed in a flowing coat that caught the night breeze, while Jung Il-woo waited opposite her, his script clenched in one hand. For a while, everything proceeded normally. Their dialogue flowed smoothly, the camera operators adjusted their angles, the director whispered instructions through his headset. But then, midway through a line, Dara stopped, her brow furrowed, and asked for another take. At first, it seemed like a minor request. She was known for her perfectionism, after all. But something in Jung Il-woo's jaw tightened. He exhaled sharply through his nose and muttered something under his breath, too quiet for most to hear. Still, the shift in the air was undeniable. They tried again. Dara delivered her line, then paused, shook her head, and asked to start over. This time, Jung Il-woo's reaction was louder. "How many more times?" he demanded, his voice carrying across the silent set. Dara turned to him, startled, but her expression quickly hardened. "As many as it takes to get it right," she shot back, her tone sharp as a blade. And with that, the dam broke. In front of the stunned crew, the two stars exchanged words that no microphone could fully capture, low at first, then rising with each volley. Their hands gestured wildly, their faces, normally so composed, were flushed with anger. "You're wasting everyone's time," he accused, "and you're sabotaging the scene with your attitude." She fired back. The crew froze. Assistants stood clutching clipboards, unsure whether to intervene. The director removed his headset, his mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. One brave staff member stepped forward, trying to calm them down, but was quickly waved away by both. At one point, Jung Il-woo threw his script to the ground, the pages scattering like startled birds. Dara took a step back, her lips pressed into a thin line, then turned on her heel and strode off toward her trailer. For a moment, all was silent, just the sound of the wind rustling through the trees and the distant hum of the generators. No one moved. It was clear to everyone present, whatever had been simmering between Dara and Jung Il-woo for weeks had finally boiled over under the watchful eyes of the moon and dozens of shocked witnesses. It had come to this. In the beginning, their partnership had seemed like destiny. Both were acclaimed in their own right. Dara, the multi-talented idol-turned-actress with an unmatched work ethic, and Jung Il-woo, the consummate leading man, known for his charm and intensity. When it was announced that they would co-star in the highly anticipated drama, fans rejoiced. And at first, it seemed perfect. During early interviews, they spoke fondly of one another. Dara praised his focus and reliability, while he called her a breath of fresh air on set. Photographers captured candid moments of them laughing between takes, sharing coffee, reviewing scripts side by side. Perfection is a fragile thing. As filming progressed, subtle cracks began to show. Some noticed that they no longer lingered near each other during breaks. Others caught the edge in their voices when discussing scenes. There were rumors of disagreements over creative choices, whispers that Dara felt Jung Il-woo improvised too much, overshadowing her cues. He felt she was too rigid, insisting on endless retakes for minor flaws. Tonight, all of that unspoken resentment finally found its voice. The argument, though brief, was explosive. One crew member later described it as watching two storms collide. By the time the director called for a break, the damage was done. Dara's trailer door slammed shut behind her. Jung Il-woo stood alone in the middle of the set, staring at the scattered pages of his script, his chest heaving. Around them, the crew slowly began to move again, gathering props, whispering among themselves, exchanging wide-eyed looks. Outside the set, word of the confrontation spread quickly. Within minutes, someone had uploaded a blurry video of the heated exchange to social media. The hashtags #Dara vs Jung Il-woo and #Midnight Showdown began trending within the hour. Fans divided themselves into camps. Some defending Dara's professionalism, others supporting Jung Il-woo's frustration. Neither star emerged from their trailers for the rest of the night. The director eventually dismissed the crew, murmuring something about resuming tomorrow. But the scene, both scripted and unscripted, was burned into everyone's memory. What happens next is anyone's guess. Stay tuned for part 2, where we'll uncover how the stars and their teams responded in the hours after the argument, what really triggered the blow-up, whether this marks the end, or a new beginning, for the Dara and Jung Il-woo partnership. By the time the crew packed up and left the set, video of Dara and Jung Il-woo's confrontation had already surpassed 500,000 views. The night sky that had silently witnessed their clash now shimmered on screens across the world, shared and replayed thousands of times. Pixel by pixel, word by word. For those who weren't there, the shaky footage was mesmerizing, the rising voices cutting through the quiet night, the flash of anger in their movements, the shock on the faces of everyone around them. For those who had been there, it was impossible to forget. Inside her trailer, Dara sat perfectly still. The only light came from a single lamp in the corner, casting long shadows across the walls. Her manager hovered nearby, silent. In her lap, her phone buzzed every few seconds, messages of concern, curiosity, judgment, but she didn't reach for it. Instead, she kept replaying the scene in her head, his words, her words, the moment when patience ran out and pride took over. A few meters away, in his own trailer, Jung Il-woo stood at the window, staring out at the darkened set. His hands were shoved into his pockets, his posture rigid. On the table behind him lay his crumpled script and a glass of untouched water. His manager sat across from him, eyes darting between him and the door as if afraid to speak. At 2 a.m., the director called them both separately. He spoke to Dara first, his tone calm but urgent. Reminded her of the stakes, the production schedule, the expectations of the network, the millions of fans watching. She listened quietly. Simply said, "I understand." When it was Jung Il-woo's turn, the director's words were sharper. "You're a professional. We can't afford for this to happen again. You understand?" Il-woo's reply was curt but clear, "Yes. I understand." By dawn, official statements from both agencies were drafted. They were carefully worded, equal parts apology and explanation, designed to douse the flames without admitting too much. From Dara's team, there was a misunderstanding during a late-night shoot that resulted in raised voices. Dara regrets the incident and remains committed to completing the project with professionalism. From Jung Il-woo's team, it can be an intense process, and sometimes emotions run high. Jung Il-woo acknowledges his role in the disagreement and apologizes to the staff and his co-star. But neither statement addressed the question that everyone was asking: what really caused the explosion? As the sun rose, new details began to emerge from crew members who spoke, anonymously, to reporters. Some claimed the tension had been building for days, sparked by a disagreement over blocking a key scene. Others insisted it was a personality clash, inevitable after weeks of grueling overnight shoots. One crew member revealed, "They both care so much. That's the problem. She wants every line perfect, he wants the emotions to feel real." And sometimes those two things don't mix well. On social media, the debate only grew louder. Fans dissected every frame of the leaked video, analyzing body language, lip-reading their words, crafting narratives to fit their chosen sides. Supporters of Dara flooded timelines with hashtags like #StandWithDara and clips of her past interviews about her dedication to her craft. Jung Il-woo's defenders countered with #TeamIlwoo, posting screenshots of his previous statements about authenticity in acting. Amid the noise, the production team decided to postpone filming for 48 hours, citing logistical adjustments. Behind the scenes, negotiations began for a private meeting between the two stars. That meeting happened the next night, in a conference room at a nearby hotel. Only their managers and the director were present. The first few minutes, No one spoke. Dara sat on one side of the table, her arms crossed. Woo leaned back in his chair, staring at the ceiling. Finally, the director broke the silence. "You both know why we're here. Can't happen again. Not on my set." Dara spoke first. Her voice was soft but steady. "I shouldn't have snapped at you. I just felt like I wasn't being heard." Il-woo glanced at her, then away. After a moment, replied, "I wasn't listening. I was tired." "But that's not your fault." It wasn't quite an apology, but it was enough. The conversation shifted from accusations to solutions. They agreed to establish clearer communication during scenes, to let the director mediate creative differences before they escalated. By the end of the meeting, the tension hadn't completely dissolved, but it had softened into something manageable. The next day, they returned to set. When the cameras rolled, something remarkable happened. Whatever had been unleashed in their midnight argument was now channeled into their performances. The rawness, the emotion, the vulnerability, it was all there, and it was breathtaking. One crew member whispered, "This is the best scene they've shot yet." Off camera, they remained distant but cordial. They spoke only when necessary. Their interactions professional, but there was a new respect in the way they regarded each other, a quiet acknowledgement of what they'd endured and what they still had to do. By the time the sun set on their final day of filming, the incident had already begun to fade from headlines. New scandals took its place, new stories demanded attention. For those who had been there that night, who had felt the air crackle with anger and watched two stars collide under the night sky, it would never be forgotten. In an interview weeks later, when asked about the incident, Dara smiled faintly and said, "Sometimes, two people just care too much. And it comes out the wrong way. But we finished what we started. That's what matters." Jung Il-woo, when asked the same question, simply nodded and added, "You can't fake passion. Not on screen. Not off it either." Their story became a kind of legend on set, a cautionary tale about pride and patience, about how the brightest lights sometimes burn hottest when they collide. For the fans, it became something else entirely. A reminder that behind the glamour and the perfect smiles are real people, with real flaws and real feelings. For Dara and Jung Il-woo, it was a turning point, the night they stopped being just colleagues and became something more complicated, more human. As the director said at the wrap party, "It's not about how loud the storm is. It's about how you carry on afterward." Under the stars that night, they did just